Strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live. Not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still lights of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
Hey, hey, hey. It is Thursday, March 10th, and trying to get through some technical difficulties here. There's always something going on when you try to do things and they update things on the server. But we're going to keep it moving because basically all we do over there anyway is just monitor the show. Welcome back. We got a good show tonight. The show tonight is called The Silent Racism. And I was prompted to do this show based on a clip that I had seen. But before we get into that, as always, we're going to do our advertising first, as usual. Starting off with my company, RPC Computing, where RPC is your PC for all your repairs, upgrade, and consultation needs. 773-416-2955, located in Lansing, Illinois. Support black businesses. Next business is King's Cubby Daycare, located 8825 South Colfax in Chicago. Accept children from ages 6 weeks to 12 years old. 773-437-5108. Give them a call. It looks like they're open Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Something sweet for your heart and your soul. Miss Terry's Bakery, 708-781-5220. I have had an opportunity to enjoy some of her delicacies, and they are great. Give her a call. Rochelle Millsap, real estate RE/MAX agent for all your residential needs. I'm sure if there's some commercial needs, you can reach out to her and she can probably put you in contact with someone. Her cell is 773-716-5541. Kevin Character King, spoken word artist. He's got a CD out called I Am Character. It's available on iTunes and CD Baby. Also, Character's Book of Poetry on Amazon. I got the CD. I got the Book of Poetry. 773-364-0491. I'm going to share a quick piece of what this brother's working with.
I see new faces in old places. Places I grew up called home. And these faces in old places are faces not of my skin tone. Yet they come from various places, do these faces, to purchase themselves new spaces in these vacant places, which have now been renovated, upgraded, upscaled, and updated.
Ready to implode on impact. And there are many in my family like me, better than me, always deadly. And we can either be friend or foe. It all depends on who stands behind you. And if so, who knows where the heart is at? But lately it's been cold and black. And I'm useless with.
Check that brother out. It's good stuff. Those are the businesses for the week. If you want me to advertise a business, you can send me a card or send me some information about your website at theshow1965@yahoo.com, and we will gladly get you up and advertising for free. Tonight's show, before we go any further, I am really appealing to everyone, every black, African, American, whatever you want to call yourself, Negro, to start yourself a book room. I call mine the Black Room, because through reading, I found out how much I didn't know or how much I wasn't taught in school. One of the first books I got was by Carter G. Wilson, The Miseducation of the Negro. This is an excellent book to start from. And I buy books, and some I still haven't got around to reading yet. But I buy them, I put them on my shelf. It is my intention to re-educate myself and have a clear thought on what's going on with us as black people in America. Often we are so deceived that the American dream somehow was designed for us, and it wasn't, because we were drug over here. And I hope everybody gets that understanding, and this show isn't to browbeat some people that have fully invested their heart, body, and soul into America and what America has to offer. It's also not a show about beating down white people, and we all have our white friends, but it's about having an honest conversation, because we can never have any true, real equality as long as we pretend everything is okay, that America is this great place that has afforded us every opportunity, when a lot of us clearly know something's wrong. And not only do we know something's wrong, they know something's wrong. And that's the problem, when you're remaining silent and benefiting from that silence, because the system was designed for you, it's ran by you, and it's supported by you, as long as you remain silent and don't rock the boat. I'm going to show that video that I was talking about earlier.
I want every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens. If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
There it is, right there. Clearly, white people know what's going on. I always say, you can't be my friend if I can't be myself. And so if we can't have an honest discussion, this is one of the things that Malcolm X talked about, and we're talking over 50 years ago, that the white man has to be able to sit at the table and be honest on his feelings, and the black man has to have the same opportunity to sit at the table and say what his grievances are. Don't let me sit at the table and don't feed me while everybody else is eating and call it equality. That's insanity. So constantly, we're on these jobs. We're constantly trying to fit in to this culture. And at every turn, we got to face some more opposition. We used to have to be twice as good. Now we got to be 3 times as good. And we don't want to hear all this liberal stuff, if you just work hard. And no, no, no. We know it's a systemic problem because it's happening to pretty much all of us. I would go out and say 98% of black people could tell you some outrageous stories of inequalities in the workplace, in school, in neighborhoods. And I don't care how understanding you think you can be as a white person toward the black situation. You have no idea of what it means to be black in this country. Maybe you can sympathize, but you clearly have no idea. One of my favorite authors is James Baldwin, and this is a deep brother, and I sit and I listen and read a lot of his stuff, and he has a way of coining a phrase or putting things in a perspective that cuts deep, but at the same time makes you think. And then at the same time, it doesn't let those people off the hook. Let me share some with you. This is about a 5-minute clip. If you guys aren't aware of James Baldwin, he is one of the great literary minds of our time. And once you see his face, you'll probably recognize his face, hopefully. Let me share this brother's thoughts, and we'll talk a little more.
Dilemma of being an American Negro. That one is a little bit colored and a little bit white. And not only in physical terms, but in the head and in the heart. And there are days, this is one of them, when you wonder what your role is in this country and what your future is in it. How precisely you're going to reconcile yourself to your situation here, and how you're going to communicate to the vast, heedless, unthinking, cruel white majority that you are here. I'm terrified at the moral apathy, the death of the heart, which is happening in my country. These people have deluded themselves for so long that they really don't think I'm human. I base this on their conduct, not on what they say. And this means that they have become, in themselves, moral monsters.
Well, Jim, I can see...
It's a terrible indictment.
Yes.
I mean every word I say. It was a great shock to me. I want to say this on the air. The Attorney General did not know.
You mean the Attorney General of the United States?
Mr. Robert Kennedy. Didn't know that I would have trouble convincing my nephew to go to Cuba, for example, to liberate the Cubans in defense of a government which now says it is doing everything it can do, which cannot liberate me. Now, there are 20 million people in this country, and you can't put them all in jail. I know how my nephew feels. I know how I feel. I know how the cats in the barbershop feel. A boy last week, who was 16 in San Francisco, told me on television, thank God we got him to talk. Maybe somebody will start to listen. He said, I got no country, I've got no flag. Now, he's only 16 years old. And I couldn't say you do. I don't have any evidence to prove that he does. They were tearing down his house because San Francisco is engaging, as most northern cities now are engaged, in something called urban renewal, which means moving the Negroes out. It means Negro removal. That is what it means. And the federal government is an accomplice to this fact. Now, we're talking about human beings. There's not such a thing as a monolithic wall or, some abstraction called the Negro problem. These Negro boys and girls who at 16 and 17 don't believe the country means anything that it says, don't feel they have any place here, on the basis of the performance of the entire country.
Oh.
I don't think, put it as simply as I can, and without trying now to investigate whatever the motives of any given Muslim leader may be, it is the only movement in the country which we can call grassroots. I hate to say that, but it's true. Because it is only, when Malcolm talks, or one of the Muslim ministers talk, they articulate for all the Negro people who hear them, who listen to them, they articulate their suffering. The suffering which has been in this country so long denied. That's Malcolm's great authority over any of his audiences. He corroborates their reality. He tells them that they really exist, you know.
Jim, do you think that this is a more effective appeal than the appeal of Martin Luther King?
It's much more sinister because it is much more effective. It's much more effective because it is, after all, comparatively easy to invest a population with a false morale by giving them a false sense of superiority. And it will always break down in a crisis. It's the history of Europe, simply. It's one of the reasons we're in this terrible place. It's one of the reasons that we have 5 cops standing on a black woman's neck in Birmingham. Because at some point they believed, they were taught and they believed that they were better than other people because they were white. It leads to a moral bankruptcy. It is inevitable. It cannot but lead there. But the point is,
always some deep stuff. He hit on a lot of points. And that video is about 55 years old because he's talking about Robert Kennedy. And so maybe it's 50 years old, where somewhere around there when Robert Kennedy was the state's attorney. And the problem that we were facing back then and how brothers and sisters were feeling back then in the 50s and 60s. The hopelessness, the inability to identify with a government that would want to send you somewhere to fight and kill other brown people for the cause of America, but America wasn't fighting for you. And it's no knock on veterans. God bless you if that's what you chose to do and you went and did it. But I'm not going to knock the brothers that didn't go and do it. Like Muhammad Ali and so many others that refused to go and kill and maim in the name of the United States of America. And we can beat our chest all we want to say this is the greatest country on earth. And maybe it is. The greatest country with blackest blemish. It's incredible. He hit on some of the things about how the society was able to look at us and say that almost like we were not human. And then we get to deal with these moral monsters that still exist today. Maybe they don't have on the hoods, but we still see them. And my thing is integration still the outcome we're looking for? Are we still looking for some fair treatment? Are we looking for some form of reparation? Or is it our fault that we haven't spoke up more, haven't been out on the ledge more? It takes a lot of strength and courage to step out, like so many of the civil rights leaders of the 60s. And to be honest, how many civil rights leaders do we see these days? We got a black president, yet the gays and got what they wanted. This group gets what they want. Everybody gets what they want. The Jews back in October just got $12 million, and what happened to them didn't even happen in this country. But what have you and I got? I wouldn't care if they just gave us reparations in the form of education. Bernie Sanders talks about this a lot in his speeches for president, but I doubt if they'll do it because most of the student loans are backed by the government. Ever notice how you can be paying for a student loan 20 or more years with the interest? The majority of these loans are backed by the government, so there's no way we're giving you any free education. See, the problem is now the bill has gotten too big. They didn't take care of us back then when they freed us. No, they just continue to bullshit us, and we continue to accept it. Even King became disenfranchised toward the end. He still had hope, but he too had to rethink a lot of things. Let me share a little clip with you on that piece.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments, and I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And I think the realistic fact is that we still have a long, long way to go. The problem now is that we got our gains over the last 12 years at bargain rates, so to speak. It didn't cost the nation anything. In fact, it helped the economic side of the nation to integrate lunch counters and public accommodations. It didn't cost the nation anything to get the right to vote established. And now we are confronting issues that cannot be solved without costing the nation billions of dollars. Now, I think this is where we're getting our greatest resistance. They may put it on many other things, but we can't get rid of slums and poverty without it costing the nation something. And what we are trying to get rid of.
And that's the bottom line. It's going to cost something. When I tell people to sit down and re-educate yourself and look at what happened when there was segregation, most of our money stayed in our community. We shopped with whatever shop was available in our community. We spent our money in our community. But once we were able to integrate these stores and things that we were having these sit-ins to be a part of, to be accepted into America, we started spending less money with our own, more money with them, but they weren't spending their money with us. This is where the imbalance started coming in at. And we kept saying what they got is much better. And there's still a lot of you all running around today feeling like I can't get a good deal with black folks. I can't get good service with black folks. That's the brainwashing. Maybe you're shopping with the wrong black folks. Maybe you're not looking hard enough to do business with the right black folks. And white folks, you can't be upset, because look how the communities are set up. We got Chinatown. All their businesses are together, and they shop with themselves before they shop with anybody else. If they shop with anybody else, dollar in their community stays 28 days before it even leaves the community. Ours is 6 hours. Because the economics of our community is owned by our community. is owned by the Jewish guy, the Chinese guy, the Israeli guy, the Arab, whoever owns a business in the neighborhood. That money is going into their pockets, and then it's leaving the neighborhood immediately. Liquor stores and whatever else that exists. So, in turn, integration has cost us something that we really had no intention on losing. Can't call it the trick of the devil. This is what you're all fighting for. You're fighting to be a part of our system. This is what you're doing. What's the path wrong? Did Martin look at it and say, okay, this isn't what we really wanted? Someone said, how do you define racism? Racism is political. And it's political from the standpoint of it's the politics of controlling resources and money. So we control the resources, we control the money, we control you. Somehow we miss this this thing here. There's a few people I want to introduce everybody to tonight, not on the show, but people I study from and make a lot of good points. One is Dr. Joy DeGruy. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, DeGruy. She is a amazing speaker. She does a lot of diversity training around the world. She's one of the people I really like. If you're interested in history, John Henrik Clarke. This is probably the most knowledgeable man I have ever read about, because he's long passed on now. But his story was incredible. He's self-taught to a certain extent, where he wasn't able to afford that education in the beginning. He was working at the library, just trying to do odd and end jobs so he would have an opportunity to get access to books. And that's why I'm saying build your book room or your black room. Let it be open to your children. We know how they're trying to change the textbooks and everything and say, oh, we're going to change that to immigrants, not indentured servants, not slaves. Let's rewrite the history. Let's make it all conform to what seems acceptable to everyone. But everyone's not including us. Nobody's confirmed with us to say, how do you feel about this being in the book? If they confer with us, then it wouldn't be any type of drawback, would it? Another person, Powernomics Corporation of America, Claude Anderson. This is another incredible guy, incredible speaker. He was in town a few months ago, but I wasn't able to go see him. But he talks about black economics, what we need to do to build. And let me reiterate, this is not downing any white structures or anything. But if the structure that you're constantly supporting and you're going to work and constantly not getting ahead, or it's going to take you 10 million times more the effort to get the same little bit that other person has that just walked through the door, then we have to recognize that as a problem. And it's no good if just a few people win. I work in corporate America. I've been in corporate America, 26, 27 years. I see the BS on a daily basis. Now, either they see it also, or they want to pretend it doesn't exist. Oh, everything's equal. Just work hard. Racism doesn't really exist. We think black people can be racist. They can't. Let me share a clip with you from Dr. DeGruy.
How many people think they understand what racism is? Show of hands. Come on, you think you know. I'm not suggesting I know. I just have a couple of definitions that kind of came to me as I thought about. How many people think there are white racists? That there are white racists out there? How many think there are black racists out there? Okay. Now, this is an interesting thing because this becomes important as we begin to define concepts. Now, I do that. I usually define concepts all the way. But one of the things that I do is I try to help people get a picture of what I mean by racism. So tell me how it is. The first category is white racism, then we'll deal with black racism. So white racism. Tell me the ways in which white racism adversely impacts the lives of black people. Just what are the ways that white racism can adversely impact the lives of black people as a group? What are some of those ways? I'm sorry? Power, but how is that defined specifically? Education, okay. I'm sorry? Economically, employment. What else? Housing, what else? Policing. Why are we here today? Healthcare, okay. Now, we could actually kind of grow that list. Now we're going to move over to black racism. Tell me the ways in which black racism adversely impacts the lives of white people as an entire group. Thank you. The reason why you become silent, there's one that always comes up, and that's fear. White people are afraid of black people. They are afraid of us. And it's a very interesting thing because black people know it. We know white people are afraid, but you have to start getting into the psychology. What are you afraid of? Why are you afraid? But it's an interesting dynamic. Now, also you see the difference in what racism is, do you not? Racism implies you have not just prejudice, but the power to do something with that prejudice. Now, I don't like you, not only that, but I'm going to control whether you can get, I may say I hate you. I hate white people. I hate them. It's not going to change you getting that, loan when you go to the bank. I can hate you all the way to the bank. Not going to change. Do you see the difference? That whereas white racism says, not only do I not like you, but I'm going to change the impact of where you can live. I'm going to determine with that racism where your powers are. You following me? And I'm talking about as a group, not an individual, because people said, I remember when my uncle didn't. I'm not talking about your uncle.
Hopefully that was clear for everybody. I always say, how is it equal in this country if you have most of the resources, the majority of the money, everything is designed for you and yours? If I don't like you or like the way you're doing something, too bad. You don't like a nigga? Go work somewhere else. Go to another plantation. Oh, you've been here 10, 12, 13 years? Walk away. Leave the money on the table. Go on over here. They gonna treat you good for a little while. Then it's gonna be the same shit. And guess what? Doesn't bother us in our situation at all. You are the one that has to keep running to try to fit in. People, we got to wake up to the facts, and we got to be able to have this open discussion. I've said for years on jobs I worked at, when I talked to white people, that thought they wanted to talk until it got too deep. We live in two different societies here. When I would leave the office, I went right back to the hood. Dope slinging, shootings, poverty on top of poverty, hustlers, people trying to get it together. You go home to ice rinks, ice cream parlors, festivals. So it's a whole different mindset. Coming to work became a break for my mind away from the ignorance. It did nothing for you, but you just went from one area that you created to another area that you created. And your response to me trying to get out is, I really don't want you out. I had situations with a boss, and I was being outstanding, doing what I do, and I was getting passed over for promotions, and I'm like, well, why? I just like it. Felt Bob here deserved that. I felt that Chuck deserved that. Okay, so when you're saying they deserve it, and I've been here working hard, you're basically saying I don't deserve it. And what you got to do, either you got to swallow it and take it on the chin, or you got to run on over to Master Mo plantation. See how he gonna treat you. So we so deep in now, people, it's hard for anybody to see a way out. Now, a lot of people don't believe when a black person says these things, but then there are a few white people out there that are saying these same things, and I'm sure they have been shunned for speaking the truth. One of those people is Tim Weiss, and I'm sure a lot of people have come across Tim Weiss. I'm going to share a little something with you. Basically, just saying the same thing I just said right now.
You know, it's one thing in 2015 to believe that the United States is a post-racial country. You can almost understand why people would think that, because we have these outward signs, outward manifestations of progress. But the point is, even in the early 60s, before the civil rights laws, when we were still a segregated people, very easy.
The exact thing that I said, that's in a different way. It's that privilege that says, I really don't have to recognize what you're talking about, because the way life is set up works for me. I had a teacher back in '83, Mr. Phillip, Dunbar High School, and he says, Mr. Robinson, if you're in charge and everything's set up for you, why give up any power without a fight? No, I'm sitting on the top of the hill. Why should I do anything that benefits you? Why? For what reason would I do that? I've taken away everything that you have, and I'll give it as I please. You want to survive in this society? You're going to do it my way. You my nigga. We got an identity problem. Us as black people, we don't even identify with each other. Share this with you.
We are open for questions from the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to present to you Jimmy Baldwin.
I'll tell you a story, if I may. Many years ago, when I first came to London, I was in the British Museum, naturally, and, one of the West Indians who worked there struck up a conversation with me and wanted to know where I was from. And I told him I was from Harlem. And that answer didn't satisfy him. And I didn't understand what he meant. I was born in Harlem. I was born in Harlem Hospital, I said. I was born in New York. None of these answers satisfied him. He said, where was your mother born? And I said, she was born in Maryland. And I could see, though I didn't understand it, that he was going more and more disgusted with me. His tone became more and more impatient. And where was your father born? My father was born in New Orleans. Yes, he said, but man, where were you born? And then I began to get it. You know, I said, well, my mother was born in Maryland, my father was born in New Orleans, I was born in New York. He said, but before that, where were you born? And I had to say, I don't know. And I could see that he did not believe me. And I tried to explain, you know, there's no way for me. He said, don't you care enough to find out? And I tried to explain that if I were originally from Dakar or from wherever I was in Africa, I couldn't find out where it was because my entry into America is a bill of sale. And that stops, you know, that stops you from going any further. At some point in our history, I became Baldwin's nigger. That's how I got my name. Now, you know, that really cannot be considered, you know, my fault. It can't be considered the fault of the cat in the British Museum either, that he doesn't know that I can't find that out. And I tell you that story to dramatize the nature of the distance created deliberately. Because when I became Baldwin's nigger, it's also very important to point out, I was handcuffed to another man from another tribe whose language I did not speak. We did not know each other. And we could not speak to each other because if we could have spoken to each other, we might have been able to figure out what was happening to us. And if we could have figured out what was happening to us, we might have been able to prevent it. We would have had, in short, a kind of solidarity, which is a kind of identity, which might have allowed us, which might have made the history of slavery very different. History of slavery.
The intentional destruction of a people that still lasts to this day, separated us from our homeland, from our culture, from our food, from our beliefs. And this is the same people that are still holding us down with the silence. Just go along. It'll be okay. I'm going to speak up for you. No, you're not. Because you don't want to be labeled something different. That's why I have some respect for Jane Elliott. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, she said that he represented hope that she believed in. But where she lived at was a community was mostly whites. And just by chance, she decided that she was going to go the next day and talk to her students about it and try to give them an idea of what it was like for black people in America. But she used the brown-eyed, blue-eyed scenario. And she didn't like what she saw when she did it. And she knew she had struck upon something that she didn't intend to strike upon. And she developed a bigger dynamic to do it in with adults. And it was very effective. And it was very straight to the point. And it called the bullshit. It's hard for me, personally, and then maybe that's just my get up, when you're talking to white people and it's just hard to believe them because they just don't seem to come through. And I'm not indicting all of them. It's a lot of the ones you deal with in corporate America are on some BS. Say one thing one day, turn around the next day, say something else. I'm going to share a clip of this experiment that Jane Elliott did. If you get a chance, go to YouTube, look up Jane Elliott experiment, and you can see the full video. But I'm just going to share a clip with you right now.
Cultural Britain.
We are going to inject live racism into these people in hopes that in the future they will decide not to let those things happen to other people. This exercise is an inoculation against racism. We can make a difference here today. The purpose of this exercise is to let these nice blue-eyed white folks find out how it feels to be something other than white in the UK for 2.5 hours. They are not going to like it because I don't like them. They've already been abusive. They've already been belligerent. They've already tried to make a joke of something. Can you make a joke of racism?
No, I can't.
No, I didn't think so. Can you make a joke of racism? Can you make a joke of racism? Let me put it this way. You laugh and I'll change the color of your eyes so fast you won't know what hit you. You got it? You get angry about racism?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
You do, all the time.
Yeah.
Why? Is there something wrong with you?
No.
No? Is there something wrong with racists?
Yes.
Damn right. If you want to see a decrease in the level of racism in your society, the first thing you have to do is let white people find out how it feels to be on the receiving end.
Cheers.
What they learn today, they will either leave in this room or take out of this room in a very positive way.
But these people are people. You're assuming that they're
what?
racist. You're assuming they've got a lesson to be learned. You know, we could be racist.
Oh, I'm sure you are. I'm sure every person in this room. You didn't listen to me.
You're assuming I've got a racist attitude just because they're blue-eyed.
If you live in the UK,
you're saying that they've got more to learn.
I just think the logic's a bit faltered to try and reduce discrimination, racism.
Listen, Sonny, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. Do you understand that?
But isn't it kind of contradictory?
Do I give a damn? Do I care? You trade places with him. Right now.
Why?
Not because I told you to. That's the only reason you need. Go back there.
Yes, sir. Well.
Some of us white folks would rather not see white folks verbally, psychologically, mentally, and emotionally abused for a few minutes. Would rather not hear white folks described in an unpleasant way for a few minutes. Did you get that lesson? Did you get that message? Now, if you consider this exercise too evil for you to go through it, then you need to be somewhere else.
I would much rather be on the blue-eyed side than the aggressor side.
I don't care where you'd rather be. Now, are you going to cooperate or not?
I'm saying I would much rather be on the receiving end.
I'm asking you if you're going to cooperate or not.
It's an exercise for them to understand this is what comes to you because of how you look. It's a learning process.
An exercise that removes choice and freedom and autonomy.
But you don't have a choice. I don't have a choice to be a black woman. It was assigned to me when I came into this world. You are a black female.
The choice that I'm talking about is a choice of whether I decide to be an aggressor, to be someone who marginalizes these people.
Look, wait a minute. I don't have time. I do not have time to convince this young man that what we're doing is all right. There's no way I'm going to convince him of that, and I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Get this young man out of here.
I don't think a lot of these people realize the experiment started the moment they walked through the door. And what she was giving them was a dismissive behavior that we so often run into, especially if we speak up and voice some type of opinion. You're met with this type of dismissive behavior. And it's amazing that we just suck it up and we move on. I guess that's why we need to invest in ourselves, invest in our businesses, save some money, stop wasting money with them, find some black businesses to support. I'm going to look for more. Right now I'm supporting the DuSable Museum. Got my family membership there. Our daughter participates in programs at the Urban League. I support the YouTube channel Black and Sexy TV. We can do this if we choose to do it. I'm going to end tonight with this piece from Malcolm on Black economics. I've shared it before. I'm sharing it again. The show was kind of long tonight, but I hope it touched someone, motivated someone to research and maybe change their mind just a little bit. Love, peace. So I'm out of here.
Sustaining. Over 90% of the lynchings of black men that happened during Jim Crow and Reconstruction were of business owners. What an awful paradox. We had, when we were politically disenfranchised, we had economic power. We took that economic power for granted because we needed to fight for our civil rights. Now we're politically free, but economically insignificant. That's a tough trade-off to make. Martin Luther King thought about that trade-off. Martin Luther King wasn't just fighting for basic human rights. He fought for black businesses too. In a public address that he gave the day before he died, he said this: "We got to strengthen black institutions. I want you to take your money out of the banks downtown and put your money into Tri-State Bank. We need to have a bank in. You have 6 or 7 insurance companies in Memphis. Put your insurance there. We need to have an insurance in." Dr. King died asking us to support these businesses, and we didn't, and they're gone. Those banks and insurance companies were the backbone of the black community. And sustaining.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon